This is actually pretty difficult. It's okay. Okay, so over here I just like to angle with the wrist between the metacarpal and the radius and ulna right there. Maybe able to find a better slice right in there. You can see it a little bit of the wrist, a little bit of the radius right there. And then you want the base of the metacarpals right there. Typically in the coronal plane, I'll angle with my capitate right here, that bone right here in the middle. And then you want to cover the base of the ulna and the radius right in there. Radius, ulna. I want to cover the base right there, half what I need, and then you only need the base of the metacarpals right there, but you always do want to check your fifth metacarpal right there, the base. You only want to cover the bases. Okay, then I'm checking that all of my anatomy is within the FOV, they're within the slices and whatnot. Centering my shin box. Ideally, you don't want air in there, but you do want it to cover all of the anatomy of interest. Looks good there. Let's change that so we're in a little bit more PD range. Now we're going to move on. We always want to be ahead. Try to find my money slices first. There we go. You can see a little bit of the carpal bones right there. You can see the radius there. A little bit of the base of a metacarpal right there. Yeah, those two are probably our best ones. So I'll use this one. Down here, I'm going to look for the hook of hamate and the tubercle of trapezium. When I get that in 30 seconds. There we go. We'll get the rest of them in a few seconds. So right there, you have the hook of hamate coming down right there. And then we're going to look for the tubercle of trapezium. You can see a little bit right there. But we'll probably get a better view in the next half of the images. Ideally, we angle with that so we could get a good coronal, and this all in here is the carpal tunnel with the median nerve right in there. Okay, so I'm going to drop my FOV in the coronal plane because I'm planning a coronal, and I like to angle with the capitate like I previously stated. You can see that right in here. I'll angle over here in the sagittal plane. I'm trying to go with those structures right there. Carpal bones, the metacarpals, and the radius or ulna. Looks good to me. Now I'm going to angle down here with that hook of hamate and the tubercle of trapezium right over there. A little bit just so that line is touching the bottom of the tubercle of trapezium and the bottom of the hook of hamate as well. Okay, last step, coverage. Essentially you want to cover all the flexor tendons up here, so you want to scroll all the way up and all the way down to ensure that you're covering those up top. So I'm kind of in a good position up top. Inferiorly, I don't really include the palm. So all of this I don't really include. You can, but you do want all of those flexor tendons right there. So we have the extensor tendons up top. We want to include the flexor tendons down below as well. I'll make sure you get all those carpal bones as well. I'll add another one just because of my TR, also to ensure coverage of that. I'm just going to check coverage yet again. Like I said, the muscle in the palm of the hand isn't as important to me. Maybe for a hand exam, but not for this. I like to drop shin boxes in fat saturated sequences. just to help with that. Copy that shim box as well. We're going to keep moving. So Coronal T1 is scanning. I believe there are 2 acquisitions, so that means I'll get half of my, it said like 2 by 9 or something, right? So that means I'll get half of my images right around 3 minutes and, or I'm sorry, 36 seconds, give or take. I'll get half of those. So I'm gonna bring up my new axial to plan off of, try to find that money slice again. There we go. It's probably the best one. About 12 seconds, I'll get my new coronal, and or half of my new coronal, and I'll bring that up. Go. So we have the capitate right there. That's what I like to angle with. That central carpal bone right there. And yeah, so planning a sagittal, I'm gonna drop my FOV in the sagittal plane. It does look diagonal. It means one of these is slightly obliqued. So if I straighten these out a little bit, should act a little bit more normal. Try to center a little bit more on the whole hand as opposed to just the wrist, or at least that region of it. Now I'm gonna angle. Okay, so again, like to angle with that capitate, kind of go like that. Down here, I'm going to move these and then I'll recenter it afterwards, but I do want that reference line angled parallel to the hook of hamate and the tubercle of trapezium right there. And then notice that I scooted it posterior, so now I have to scoot it back anterior. Just basically recentering when you grab that. Okay, so I like to do coverage in this plane because you can see a lot more anatomy per image. So basically I only include the metacarpals, the bases of the metacarpals, so could argue that you'd want that, but just the end of that metacarpal right there. I'll want the end of this metacarpal as well, so I'd probably cut a few, but you also have to be cautious of the forearm as well, the ulna right there, and the radius down here. So I could probably cut, let's cut 1 for now, adjust my TR. And that looks good to me. So these are linked, automatically copies that one right there. But this is a fat saturated image, so again, I like to drop a shim box. You want to minimize the amount of air in there while covering all of the anatomy. Not what I wanted. There we go, perfect. And yeah, just want to make sure you check all your images. T1 looks great, coronal T1. Axial PD fat sat looks great there. Axial T1 looks great there as well. And that's how you plan a wrist exam.